Hey friends, it's Scott, student of comics. Finally got another video for you. Sorry it takes me so much time to put out these videos. I know they're usually pretty short too, but I just really want to make something unique and kind of informative. So that's why it takes me so long. And plus, life happens. So thanks to all those people that are very prolific. I appreciate you. I'm glad that your videos are out there. They inspire me to make my sort of very specific and scattershot videos. So hopefully you'll find this interesting today. I want to talk about, I was reading a book recently and it really made me think about a page, the structure of a page of a comic, and what's so, I think, unique about comics storytelling and what you can do on a page. And I just wanted to explore that. So I'm going to take three examples of pages I thought of immediately when I thought, okay, what are three sort of perfect comic book pages? And they're all pretty different in why I think they're perfect, and you'll see why. So let's get started. All right, first up is going to be from Hellboy Volume 2. I love these library editions. They're so cool. They're just big. They're big boys. Big bricks. You could probably build a house using this thing as your hammer. But this was one of the first ones I thought of because just this page, first of all, I think it's pretty famous on the internet. You'll probably immediately recognize it. It's the monkey with the gun page. So, but let's dig in. I mean, first of all, we all know Mike Mignola is one of the giants of the medium, and I think people recognize that his the way he renders characters is just super cool. The way he uses spotting blacks to make these heavy shadows is super cool. But I want to talk about this page and how it works. So basically, in this story, Hellboy and Abe are kind of investigating this creepy mansion, and at the top of the page here we have them noticing, and you can see here the way Mignola draws your attention using this, jaggedy shape, like kind of almost like a flame. But that draws your eye here. And, remember always we're, in the West here, we're reading left to right. So that's, I think, important in how these panels work. So draws your eye in here. And then the next panel is a narrower panel, which, first of all, I think it's spotlighting the pedestal that this box is on. And it narrows your focus into that. And so we have the same shape here. And so your eye is making that connection. It's drawing you in here. And then another zoom in on the box itself. And again, we kind of narrows your focus on the box. So if you think about how you're probably usually reading, you're kind of, maybe your eye kind of wanders around this and then kind of zeroes in here, so it's not super linear. And then once you go to that next panel, there's sort of this top down, bringing your eye in here, and then the same thing where it's drawing your eye this way. And then now on this second tier, pretty straightforward. We have Abe, and the lettering. I'll kind of bring in the lettering into this a little bit, but this is kind of the way lettering is important as well. So all the word balloons are at the top here, and they sort of lead you to Abe, lead you to Hellboy, back up here to something else that Hellboy is saying, and then to the so he's not actually a monkey. I have a friend that may or may not be watching that would definitely not want me to gloss over that this is not a monkey, this is a chimp, but they do refer to him as a monkey. And that's all I'll say about that. You can do your research on what the difference is between a monkey and a chimp. But, they say, what's that in the corner? It's the chimp. This is pretty straightforward. We're focused in on Abe. He's saying, is that a monkey? Then cut to Hellboy, super close up. He's got a gun. And then blam blam, which is one of the best, I think, 3 panels sequences ever. This is maybe tied with the pancake story, but that's 2 pages, so I didn't want to bring that into this. But just that way where you're, and this is a great example of what Mignola does too, where he sets a mood here. So these 3 panels are setting a mood, especially this one, and just giving you kind of a sense like this is a creepy place. And then it's just this long panel, kind of, them you can imagine them, moving around, maybe looking around at this point. And that's something cool about comics is if you draw the panel a certain way, it kind of implies that maybe there's other movement happening before and after this moment that's depicted in the panel. Like you could kind of almost envision in your mind that this monkey's kind of like coming out of the shadows here and not just like, just frozen there. So something that Mignola does really well. And here too, I think it implies, with this motion, the monkey's hand flying up and then pulling the trigger, blam, blam, shooting at Abe, which over here we see Abe getting hit. But yeah, just the way panel structure and Mignola's, just the way he renders characters works here. I think this is a great example of like what comics can do, the way that they, without using motion, they still imply motion just through the way the panels are structured. So that's the first one I wanted to talk about. The next one here is going to be a little different. So the next book here is All-Star Superman, and it's going to be issue 1, page 1, which I think a lot of people maybe have talked about this in other contexts about it being not just the perfect page, but the perfect sort of origin of Superman. And so let's get into that a little bit. So, we have 4 tiers here, and Morrison and Quitely have kind of 4 big ideas to get through to the reader. And those 4 big ideas explain Superman perfectly. And the way that this leads in, this is supposed to be just about these 3 pages, but the way this page leads into the following splash page, which that's just beautiful, beautiful stuff there. I think is pretty special. So, I'll again kind of talk about these in terms of the words as well, and not just the visuals, but how they work together. So we have Doomed Planet, and we know this story. We know Krypton is in trouble, and so here we have Krypton. Its volcanic activity is increasing. It's getting ready to explode. We all know that story. Desperate scientists. These are the L's, the House of L. We have the parents of Kal-El, Superman there, and we know they're watching their son fly off into space. And so Quitely chooses to just show their faces. That's all you really need there. You know who these people are from the supporting text, but also from looking at them. And that's something too, I might come back to this idea, but these things, I mean, these words are great. I guess if there was a novel about Superman, these could be like a little poem that goes at the beginning. But I would argue that these sets of words and these 4 panels work best together. And that's the thing about comics, is it's why, and this is me being pedantic, so apologies if you do this, like don't mind me, find out for yourself, but it's why I don't really care for comic book artists being referred to as illustrators. These words are not being illustrated here. The words support the drawing, and the drawing supports the words, because that's how comics work. Comics are images and words together telling a story. So that's a little bit of a digression, but we see desperate scientists, here they are, and then Last Hope. And this is another great example of them working together. Like, this is the spaceship, it's the spaceship escaping Krypton's destruction. And then Kindly Couple. And here's the Kents finding Superman. And you don't even need this, you just can, we are baby, Kal-El's perspective here, seeing the Kents finding him. The red cape, or really the blanket at this point, because we know that in this version, of course, it's the version where the blanket becomes part of Superman's costume. There's different iterations of that, of course, but we understand this based on the imagery that Quitely has chosen and the very sparse words that Morrison has chosen. And I think that's another reason I think this is a perfect page, because it's just the simplicity of everything, the simplicity of each panel, and the simplicity of the words together tell you exactly what you need to know about where Superman comes from. So I definitely agree with those people that think this is just the best version of the origin of Superman that there's ever been. And yeah, I just love it. Again, like Quietly's artwork is wonderful. Morrison's words are always wonderful. But I think that's why this is a perfect page. And again, there's a lot here where you can sort of, this is a moment, but you can see the moment maybe in your mind's eye of them watching Kal-El take off, coming together to embrace as like this light increases and they're kind of engulfed in the explosion of Krypton. Same with this, you can kind of see in your mind's eye the spaceship continuing to fly off the page into space, and the Kents, uncovering the spaceship. So it's something that I don't know if we always think about it, that artists are really picking the right moment that creates a sense of movement and a sense of clarity in what is happening. It's something I struggle with in my own work, is like, what's the moment I should show in this panel to really get across what I'm trying to say. So I think this is a great example of that. Yeah, so we're gonna do one more, and this one will be a little bit different still. All right, and finally, this is actually the book that, when I was reading it, inspired this whole idea for this video. So this is Ducks, Kate Beaton's Ducks, which just came out this year. It's a graphic novel. I don't like the word graphic novel, but that'll be another video. But since we all understand what that means, I'll use that term. It's a graphic novel. It's a memoir about her time in the oil sands of Alberta. So Kate is Canadian. She grew up in Cape Breton on the east coast of Canada. Suffice it to say, there's not as many jobs there, but the oil sands were booming at this time. This is about 2000, early to mid 2000s, and the book is, the book's great. First of all, you should definitely read it. I definitely recommend it. But there's a lot of painful stuff in here. It deals with sexual assault, deals with toxic masculinity. It deals with environmental degradation, deals with loneliness, deals with all kinds of pretty heavy topics. And Kate Beaton, her artwork is a little more expressive, cartoony, I guess is maybe another way to put it. But the page that I kind of hit on in the book that really like spoke to me and made me think about this, and this might be difficult to see here. All right, so I took a little break to adjust the camera, so apologies for that hard edit. But I want you to really be able to see this. So Kate works in this her time in the tar sands. She worked in the tool crib, and at one point in the story, she's really struggling with a lot of different things about working here, kind of being lonely, but also being like sort of bullied, sometimes harassed by a lot of the male employees, but also like being good friends with some of them as well. It's just there's a lot. It's hard to kind of plug all that in if you haven't read the book. This is almost halfway through the book, or maybe about a third of the way through the book. But anyway, she has to go kind of work out in this trailer and kind of clean up all these tools that people have left out. And what's really I think great about this page is that she's doing something very tedious and very lonely and very it's a very cold day. You can see, it's snowing, obviously. It's in Alberta. So much further north than I'm in Oregon, and this is much further north than that, and it gets pretty cold here. So I can only imagine. But these 4 panels just do a lot to really like communicate this. So we have, she's working in this trailer. Here are the outhouses, and we see here she opens the door, and then the next panel we just have footprints to the outhouse, and then the final panel, she's halfway back. Now, what really struck me about this is like it's communicating a pretty simple thing, which is she's going from this trailer to the outhouse and then going back, right? But the way this is laid out and the way Kate has drawn these panels, I feel like, first of all, like this probably isn't the only time she left this trailer to go to the outhouse, right? And so you can kind of reread this page over and over again. And I think that's something else that's really cool about comics. Like, you're in control of the pacing to a degree. Like, obviously artists make decisions to try and move you through the page the way they want to, but you can read and reread things. Alan Moore actually talks about this in his book about writing comics, like he's very aware of how you can go back and look at something and then come back to where you just were, and you can kind of like recontextualize yourself in that moment. And I felt that when I was reading it, I kind of read this over and over, and I think doing that also gives you a sense of this sort of tedious, monotonous work she's doing. So actually, looking up and down this page over and over, I would argue it enhances the feeling that Kate is trying to get across in this moment in the book. So that's something that really like jumped out at me, and it's something else I really enjoyed about this this memoir. I mean, it is a lot of talking head stuff, as a lot of memoirs are, but she did a great job of using the medium visually in this book to further what she was saying. Something you don't always see, I think, in a criticism I have of some memoir comics is they're just very talky, and like I don't really understand even why they're a comic. Sometimes they're not very visually engaging, but this is very visually engaging and interesting, and gets across the themes and the points that she's trying to communicate to the reader through visuals as well as the words. And again, comics are ultimately a visual medium, so you need both of those to be in balance, I think, to really have an effective comic. So yeah, those are the 3 pages I wanted to talk about. Let me know in the comments below if you have pages that you really love, that you think about. Maybe make your own video about some pages that really speak to you in comics, and share it in the comments below. Appreciate you watching, and yeah, I'm gonna keep trying to crank out some videos for you. Again, I have a lot of ideas, but they take some time and some planning for me to really think through what's going to be interesting. So appreciate you all watching, and remember, Jack Kirby should be on our money. Thanks.